How's it going, everyone? NeedleMouse here. Sonic Adventure 2 in my eyes is one of the best Sonic games of all time. I know now that many people dislike the game and think it's mediocre, but I personally have always loved the game. Yes, an SA2 review is coming, I promise. But while most people who do play the game agree that the speed stages are the best part of the game, most people dislike the treasure hunting and the mech stages of SA2. I'm here to redeem them both. In this small 3-part series, I will talk about both treasure hunting stages and the mech stages, and try to redeem them as much as I can before ending it off with an overall SA2 review that will feature a very special guest. Now, I personally enjoy both treasure hunting and mech stages, so I really hope by the end of this video, I can teach you a little something that might improve your opinions on these sections. So let's get into part 1 today, where we will talk about the mech stages in Sonic Adventure 2. Let's get into it. So let's start at the beginning, and let's first understand where the mech stages came from. And to do that, we have to go 3 years back to 1998, when Sonic Adventure first launched. Adventure is known for having 6 playable characters that have their own different playstyles. You have Sonic with his high-speed stages, Tails who races Sonic to the end of levels, Knuckles and his treasure hunting stages, which will be talked about in episode 2, Amy who has to escape the robot Zero throughout the level, Big with his fishing, and the topic of today's video, E102 Gamma. Gamma is one of Eggman's robots from the E series, along with E100 Zero, E101 Beta, E103 Delta, E104 Epsilon, E105 Zeta, and the most famous of the bunch, E123 Omega. Omega is peak! I love the guy! He needs more love in the franchise, I swear. But let's not get off topic. Gamma stages were perhaps the most unique in SA1. First, they were on a time limit. In order to get the extra seconds you need in order to finish the stage, you are required to lock on to enemies and chain them together before firing. The more enemies you destroy with one lock on, the more seconds you will get back. This is a great way to incorporate this gimmick in Sonic Adventure 1, a game with no real ranking system. But while I do really enjoy Gamma's levels in Sonic Adventure 1, they always felt more like a tech demo and incomplete. The stages are just cut and paste of previous levels, and most of the time they're also shorter, apart from Final Egg and Hot Shelter. Unfortunately, I don't think these stages were fully realized in the time for Adventure's release. But that is where Sonic Adventure 2 comes in. In SA2, Gamma stages were taken from SA1 and transformed into fully fledged original stages, now custom tailored to this new mechanic. Instead of Gamma, on the hero team, you now play as the young genius fox Miles Per. And on the dark team, you play as the cunning mastermind Dr. Ivo Robotnik. The stages work in a very similar way to the way they do in the first Adventure game, but instead of earning seconds, you earn points. The more enemies you chain, the more points you get. This might seem pointless at first, but you have to remember that Sonic Adventure 2 introduced the revolutionary ranking system to the Sonic games. This simple addition already makes these stages so much more fun. Racking up points is no longer a necessity, but is instead an option. You could just mash the attack button and not chain the enemies together whatsoever and finish with an E rank, or you could expertly play the level, rack up huge amounts of points to achieve that beautiful A rank. Speaking of mashing, it is a major problem I see when people say that the mech stages aren't fun. People just spam the attack button and don't rank up any score, so of course it would be no fun to people. If you want to have fun with these stages, I highly recommend to try and hold down the attack button and lock onto multiple enemies. But also, we have the level design itself. Unlike most of Gamma's stages where they were just copy and paste of previous stages with maybe some extra assets tailored to the stage, Sonic Adventure 2 instead now builds the levels around how the mechs work, making each level design feel a lot more fluid and, well, fun. Let's go through every mech stage in Sonic Adventure 2, starting off with the hero story with Prison Lane. This stage is a great introduction to how the mech stages work in this game, but it's definitely not the best. The music is pretty fire though, and the A rank is also very rewarding and not easy to get whatsoever. I would like to mention now that I think that Tails' levels are a lot worse than Eggman's levels, in A rank difficulty and in level design in general. Alright, let's move on to Mission Street. As someone who went to San Francisco last year, yeah, this is exactly how it is there. In fact, it's even worse than it is there. I don't even know how, but it's worse. Anyway, this level is a pretty good one. A step up from Prison Lane, but not the best the Two-Tailed Fox has to offer. Then we have Hidden Base, and this is probably the worst of all the levels. It's not outright god-awful, it's just the least fun. The quicksand being impossible to get out of is a huge downside in my eyes, and the A rank is also way too easy to get. I also dislike how easy it is to fall down into the quicksand. It's just not fun. The stage overall is mediocre at best. But finally we have Eternal Engine, and this level is the best from the Hero Mech Stages. The level is very difficult and has a lot of opportunities to chain together enemies in satisfying succession. The music is also great, and the gimmicks are extremely innovative. I enjoy the fact that you can avoid door bombs and pass through unfazed, or you can chain all the doors together to get a higher score and try and avoid being sucked out into space, giving a big risk and reward addition to the stage. And your reward for risking everything and losing all of your score is that sweet, sweet A rank. Overall, this is just the best mech level Tales has to offer. But what does Eggman have? Personally, I find that every Eggman level is honestly a banger. Starting off with Iron Gate. Just like Prison Lane, Iron Gate is the introductory mech stage, and it does well as one. The stage has a lot of gun beetles, and they are really fun to chain together. The only thing I do find annoying in the stage are these lifts. You see, when you rise on them, you're supposed to lock onto multiple gun beetles, and I'm just never able to hit more than 3 at once, which is really annoying. But overall, it's a great stage, though it isn't my favorite. Sand Ocean is Eggman's parallel to Tails' hidden base, and just like that stage, it's my least favorite of the Eggman stages, for the same reason as the Tails stage, though I do find it quite enjoyable to quickly move and skip platforms, and this simple change already makes the level a lot more fun than hidden base. You can not risk anything and simply move slowly, or you can move faster, which will increase your chance in falling in the sand and dying, but will also increase your chance of getting that A rank. The level design in the stage complements this fast-moving style a lot better than any other mech stage actually, and I really enjoy that. But still, this level is just not very fun. Next comes Lost Colony, and this one is a pretty good stage. I don't have much to say about it as this level doesn't have one specific gimmick, but I did enjoy hovering over huge areas and shooting down the gun mechs. Just a fun stage overall. Then we have Weapons Bed, and it is my second favorite mech level in the game. The level is just so much fun as you have loads of gun mechs just standing around waiting for you to destroy them. And due to the huge amount of them, you can rack up a massive score on the stage, which is just so satisfying. This feeling of joy can be felt only twice, spending your time with family and Weapons Bed. But finally, we have Cosmic Wall, and this is the best mech stage of all time in my opinion. This level has a really cool gimmick where your jump and your hover have this anti-gravity mechanic, allowing you to jump higher than before. And the amount of enemies in this level might be more than any other in the game. But that makes chaining them together and racking up huge points so much fun. I once had a score of 100,000 when finishing the stage, and it's just so much fun. There are also these sections where you sit on a sort of roller coaster and blast down every enemy in front of you. And there are just loads of things to target. Definitely an amazing mech stage, and will forever remain in my eyes as the best Sonic mech stage of all time. In fact, this mech stage is so good, I'd say it is even better than some of the speed stages. Yeah, I said it. So, as you can clearly see, the mech stages in SA2 can be quite fun. The main issue that I think people seem to have is that they don't lock onto enemies and just spam the same button. To imagine how this feels, just think about any boost stage and not boosting whatsoever. You can get through the level and not get any S rank, unless of course we're talking about gens where the S rank is piss easy. I'm not letting gens off the hook, but why not use the central mechanic of the playstyle and achieve that S rank? It's the same with the mech stages. Why not lock on and rack up as many points as you can instead of just spamming and not getting anything out of it? So if you never enjoyed the mech stages in SA2, maybe try this philosophy instead, and maybe you'll have fun with this playstyle. In the end, I think the mech stages in Sonic Adventure 2 are extremely fun. Are they the best gameplay style in the game? Absolutely not. But are they fun in their own unique way? Yes, I would think so. And welcome to part 2 of Redeeming Sonic Adventure 2, a short 3-episode series where I try and redeem, well, Sonic Adventure 2. Our Sonic Adventure began last week, where we talked about multiple enemies and racking up as many points as you can. But the mech stages aren't the only levels that are, well, disliked. In fact, many people dislike the stages I'm about to talk about more than they do the mech stages. I'm talking about the treasure hunting stages in Sonic Adventure 2. Alright, there are a lot of valid criticism to these levels, but personally, I've always really enjoyed them. Even levels like Meteor Herd and Mad Space, I had quite a bit of fun with on my last playthrough. I would even go as far as to say the treasure hunting in SA2 is better than SA1. Why? Well, let's find out. But to understand the treasure hunting stages, we must once again go back in time to 1998 when Sonic Adventure first released. Last time, we talked about the gameplay of E102 Gamma and how it influenced the creation of the mech stages in SA2. So let's take a look at the character who implements the treasure hunting levels in Sonic Adventure 2, Knuckles the Echidna. In SA1, Knuckles' levels are built around you having to find the shards of the Master Emerald, and you have to find 3 per stage. Just like with Gamma, Knuckles is placed in an area where Sonic already ran through. But soon, a pretty huge problem arises. Knuckles has no unique sections of his own. All the sections Knuckles goes through, Sonic has already gone through. While I do agree there are certain sections of the levels that only Knuckles can access, such as the top of Casinopolis, most of the time, Sonic can access these sections without any issue. Never goes through, but Knuckles doesn't get his own parts of the level, much less his own completely unique stages. Now, don't get me wrong, I love SA1, so all these criticisms don't take away the fact that I really enjoy the game. In fact, Knuckles' sections still have really cool things. For example, you can detect all 3 emerald shards at once. While I do find this cool, there is a pretty big downside to it. Being able to detect all 3 emerald pieces at once leads you to finish the levels extremely quickly. This makes Knuckles' story in SA1 really easy to beat, and it takes almost no time. In fact, I've beaten Knuckles' story in about 30 to 40 minutes, which kinda sucks. Overall, my feelings on Knuckles' stages offer almost nothing completely new, and while I love the treasure hunting aspect, I don't like how quickly you can finish the levels. But this, my friends, is where Sonic Adventure 2 comes in. In SA2, these stages are refined. No longer do our gliding and climbing characters retread the same ground. Now, they have their own levels custom built with the gimmick in mind. There are some very notable changes, the biggest one being the Emerald Radar can no longer sense all 3 emeralds at the same time. This might seem like a huge downside at first, but the developers knew what they were doing. Sonic Team isn't as stupid as they look, well, most of the time. The emeralds now all spawn in close proximity to each other, instead of the opposite sides of the map. This leads to longer levels that don't take about 30 seconds to beat, like the Knuckles levels in SA1. Now, I can already hear people yelling and typing on their keyboards, but what about Mad Space and Meteor Herd? They take a long time. I personally never experienced this with both levels, and I've played them lots of times. I have 100 SA2 after all. Either I'm very lucky, or it's a skill issue. You tell me. Also, here's a tip for everyone who is struggling with the levels. I recommend restarting the level. This respawns the emeralds completely, and more times than not, you will be able to find them much faster. But let's talk about each level in detail. In Sonic Adventure 2, we have 2 treasure hunters, the famed powerhouse of Team Sonic, Knuckles the Echidna, and the master jewel thief, Rouge the Bat. Alright, let's get into the level, starting off with Knuckles' Wild Canyon.
This is Knuckles, and I'm back. I've been away for a while, but I'm back to kick some butt in Wild Canyon.
It's a wonderful introduction to the world of treasure hunting. The stage isn't too big and is just plain fun. A little on the small side, but overall is really enjoyable. I have to mention here though that Knuckles' music is amazing. The rap-like songs in his stages are just peak. There's no other words for them. Not a singular miss when it comes to these songs. Well, except for one, but we'll get to it later. But speaking of amazing songs, this next stage has to be one of the most iconic pieces in Sonic history. Pumpkin Hill, baby. I love this stage with all of my heart, and no one can change my opinion on it. The Halloween themed stage is perhaps the best treasure hunting level of all time. The combination of the great level design, amazing theming, and great music makes this level one I absolutely love coming back to. Next comes Aquatic Mine, and while to many this is where the treasure hunting stages become bad, I have never had a huge problem with this stage. Every run, I immediately turn the water level down to the smallest amount, and then I'm able to find the emeralds really easy. This stage isn't perfect. I mean, it's a water stage, but it's fun in its own right. But next is Death Chamber, and this level sucks. I can't defend this stage no matter what. The level design is much too complicated and confusing. Pair that with the worst of the Knuckles songs, and you get a very mediocre stage. It's just not very fun at all. But finally, we have Meteor Herd. When playing through SA2 for the first time, I dreaded this stage, being afraid that it would be difficult or very annoying. But what I found was a really fun stage. Due to Meteor Herd's verticality, the stage isn't nearly as annoying as Death Chamber, which feels like it's too big horizontally. While I do think it is way too big, I personally think though that this is the only stage that should have had the Emerald Radar from SA1 due to how big it is. This would have aided with shortening the time that it takes in the stage, as I know that it takes many people way too long to find them. For me personally, I've never had much of an issue, but I know a lot of people do. Otherwise, I really do like Meteor Herd. It's a great stage, and space levels are always fire in Sonic. When it comes to Rouge's levels, I find them mostly to be worse than Knuckles'. There are great ones, but most aren't. Starting off with Dry Lagoon. First of all, how can a lagoon be dry? Like, I'm honestly curious. Is there like just like a bed with no water in it? How does this work? But second, this stage is just okay. Comparing to Knuckles' opening stage, it's much worse due to its gimmick. In order to find some of the emerald pieces, you have to free a turtle. To do that, you have to destroy some gun mechs. On what to do exactly. I just ran around the stage not knowing exactly what to do until I accidentally destroyed one of the gun mechs, somehow figured out that I had to go down and found a whole new stage. After that though, there is also a chance an emerald shard will spawn in this underwater section, and in order to get that, you have to grab onto a second turtle. And no, I don't hate turtles. I think they're actually pretty cool, like that one turtle in Archie comics that gets shot. God, that's dark. Archie's like way too dark. Jesus. Anyway, Dry Lagoon can be a fun stage, but that depends on really where the emeralds spawn. I'm also gonna point out here that I think that Rouge's music is, out of all the 6 characters in the game, by far the worst. By far. It just kinda sucks. Mad Space is the only somewhat good song, but otherwise, the main theme and the stage music kinda suck. But anyway, what's next? Oh. Egg Quarters sucks. Can we move on now? No? I have to explain why this sucks? Fine. So, Egg Quarters. It's just as bad as Death Chamber, except it's the second Rouge level, which gives the player, if they start Dark Story, no time whatsoever to get used to the way treasure hunting works. At least with Knuckles, you get a couple stages to get you used to this playstyle. With Rouge, it's your second level, you're instantly thrown into it, and it sucks. It just sucks. I have never, and will never, enjoy this stage, no matter what. This is the worst treasure hunting stage in SA2, and is probably the worst treasure hunting stage in Sonic history. It's not even close, honestly. Security Hall, the stage exists. Not only does the stage have a stupid time limit, sometimes the Chaos Emeralds, yeah, due to the lore, you find the Chaos Emeralds, not Master Emeralds, blah blah blah, yeah, will spawn in these vaults. To open these vaults, you have to press these switches on the top part of the level. Problem is, these switches are hard and annoying to find on your first playthrough of the game. This caused me to restart the level so many times, and it was infuriating, until of course I figured out what all the switches were, and it was pretty much smooth sailing from there. And finally, we have Mad Space. I expected the stage to be a horror show, the worst of them all, but I came out pleasantly surprised. While Mad Space isn't the best of Rouge's levels, I kinda like it. The only 2 things I don't enjoy are, first, the way you get off planets, as the gravity is really annoying, and second, the same reason I said for Meteor Herd. But otherwise, Mad Space is actually kind of fire. Pair that with actually good music and you get a great treasure hunting stage. Those are all the treasure hunting stages in SA2. Out of the 9 in the game, only 2 are bad and or mediocre. There is quite a bit of fun to have with these. While I do think Knuckles' stage and SA1 are amazing, I think SA2 really refined these stages. And that, my friends, is why I think treasure hunting in SA2 is better than SA1. While both have their upsides and downsides, in the end, I think SA2 takes the ground as the game with the better treasure hunting. Sonic Adventure 2 is known as one of the greatest Sonic games of all time. But in recent years, the game seems to have fallen out of grace, with people saying that games like Sonic Forces are better. Sonic Forces? What? Is SA2 really that bad? Has time finally caught up with this once treasured Sonic game? Is it now just a mediocre game? No, absolutely not. Sonic Adventure 2 to many remains as one of the greatest Sonic games ever, myself included. I love this game, and while yes, it does have its issues, it doesn't deter Sonic Adventure 2 to be one of the greatest Sonic games in my eyes. But not just in my eyes, but also in the eyes of many, which includes the very special guest I've been building up for 2 episodes straight. Introducing perhaps the greatest creator on the platform, Scott the Woz.
Hey y'all, Scott here, and damn it, I own Sonic Jam!
What? The budget doesn't allow us to get Scott on this video? Introducing perhaps the greatest Sonic creator of all time, and also this is all the budget can manage, Mr. Lag.
Hey y'all, Lag here. Sonic Adventure 2, my favorite excuse to deal property damage without being convicted. I spend so much time in this game, enough to question my own sanity, and I've never gotten tired of it. Whether you're causing property damage, stalking the president, or witnessing murder, this game is always a blast. And it really sucks to see that so many people don't see it in the same light. But hopefully we can change that with this video. So, without further ado, let's talk about why Sonic Adventure 2 is amazing.
Alright, let's begin with the most universally loved part of Sonic Adventure 2. The speed stages, of course. Apart from Crazy Cadger, which makes you feel hot, these stages are absolutely amazing. Many people dislike the fact that the speed stages introduced the corridor-like level design into Sonic, but still, they have the multiple paths and faster routes that Sonic is known for. Let's start at the top with City Escape.
Property damage, my favorite. This stage is one of the most iconic levels in gaming history, and for good reason. The fact that you start the stage by boarding down the streets of San Fran is enough to make my dopamine rise to nuclear levels. Oh, and you aren't the only one committing property damage, as the freaking military sends a killer truck after you. Yeah, this stage is peak. Metal Harbor is next, and once again you're running from the feds. I'm sensing a trend here. A lot of fast-paced platforming can be found here, and it's also where you obtain the returning Lightspeed Dash, which feels a lot better to use than its SA1 counterpart. The level design is great, and going for the A rank is oh so satisfying.
Green Forest is a blast to play through every time. Not only is the stage itself so fun, with numerous really cool gimmicks, the situation Sonic and Co. are in is at an all-time high. A huge timer at the top of your screen, the amazing rock music blasting only adds to this already amazing stage. The only thing I can really critique this stage on is that the A rank is really easy to get. Otherwise, peak stage. Pyramid Cave is next, and this level is just okay in my eyes. It has some really cool ideas, but picking up the keys and avoiding the ghosts can be a hassle. Although the music and the gimmick of going fast enough to avoid closing doors is really fun. Overall, Pyramid Cave is actually a pretty fun stage.
Crazy Gadget. Yeah, it exists. The gravity gimmicks are unique, but really janky at times. And although the story stakes for this stage are really high, with Sonic having to reach Eggman before he freaking kills Amy, it doesn't save the wonky gravity shenanigans and the just okay level design from being there. Now, Final Rush, on the other hand, this might be the greatest level in Sonic Adventure 2, period. The use of rails and alternate paths in this stage is unmatched. The stakes are incredibly high, and the flow state you can achieve is incredible. And having it all take place hovering over the earth is so freaking cool. It's almost everything I want in a Sonic level.
But Sonic isn't the only super speed hedgehog in this game, as Sonic Adventure 2 introduced the greatest Sonic character of all time, Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow stages are very similar to that of Sonic, the major difference being the environments, gimmicks, level design, and the music. Starting off with the Radical Highway, I love this stage. Taking place on the in-world equivalent of the Golden Gate Bridge, this stage is absolutely amazing, and is honestly better than the real-life equivalent. The level has you running from the military, but unlike City Escape, Gun has taken to the skies, with fighter jets shooting you down constantly. And the A rank in this stage isn't easy at all to get. With all this in mind, Radical Highway solidifies itself as one of the best Shadow stages of all time. Next comes White Jungle, and this is Shadow's version of Sonic's Green Forest, except it personally feels a lot more high octane and desperate. While Sonic is running to save his friends, who he knows are alive and well, Shadow is pushing himself, going as fast as he possibly can to save a trapped Rouge, who will die if he doesn't get there on time. But apart from that, my opinions on the stage are pretty much the same as Green Forest. A great stage overall.
Next up is Skyrail, and it's pretty fun. Since it takes place in the same region as Pumpkin Hill, the aesthetic is really fresh and it just looks great. While the level design isn't anything special, I do like the amount of branching pathways shown here. Gives you a lot of options on how you want to progress the level. And lastly, we have Final Chase. It's mid. Like Final Rush, Final Chase tries to establish a gimmick and then continue are a couple rough edges here and there, overall they nail the adventure gameplay to a T, and the set pieces and level designs are mostly fantastic. However, it's time to move on to a slightly more controversial topic, the hunting stages.
Now, I made a full separate video on the treasure hunting stages, but to recap, I think these stages are awesome and improve quite well on the SA1s. While I do think some levels aren't fun, like Egg Quarters or Death Chamber, there is quite a lot of enjoyment to be had. Levels like Pumpkin Hill and Dry Lagoon are quite fun, but I'll let Lag talk about these since I have my own video on this, which go ahead and check it out if you want to.
Adventure 1's treasure hunting stages were admittedly really shallow, with the areas being pretty small and confined, and Tikal being able to literally show you where the pieces are. SA2 drastically improves on these, but also downgrades a bit as well. First off, instead of the levels being really small, just sections of full stages in SA1, they're all original in Adventure 2, and take full advantage of Knuckles and Rouge's movesets, most of the time. That's a big problem with some of these stages. They can be pretty inconsistent quality-wise, with levels like Pumpkin Hill being amazing, while others like Death Chamber are very closed in and annoying to navigate. Not to mention, the radar is also extremely nerfed from SA1. In that game, it would show you all the emerald locations at once, but in SA2, they ditched that mechanic in favor of only showing one shard at a time. I assume this was implemented to work with the new hint system, but it really just makes the levels take longer than they should. Conclusion, I'd say that SA2's treasure hunting has higher highs than Adventure 1's, much lower lows as well.
I can say the same for the mech stages in Sonic Adventure 2. I made a full separate video on these as well, and all I can say is I love the mech stages. What can I say? They're really fun. Eternal Engine and Cosmic Wall are my personal favorites. But again, I'm giving the mic off to Lag to get his opinions on these stages. Take it away, Scott.
I'd have to agree with NeedleMouse here. These stages are incredibly underrated. And while I've heard a lot of people complain about this gameplay style, I've found it really enjoyable. Similar to how the hunting stages expanded upon Knuckles' gameplay in SA1, the mech stages do the same, but this time with Gamma's gameplay. Although Tails and Eggman control a bit worse than Gamma, the levels are well designed enough that I don't really care, especially when going for the A ranks. Not to mention they are completely original this time, compared to Gamma, where almost all his stages were small sections of Sonic stages. My favorite part about the mech levels though, is just logging onto a ton of enemies and getting massive point bonuses for it. It's just really satisfying. Overall, these are some of my favorite sections of the game, and I hope that maybe someday they can return in a future Sonic title.
The story in SA2, I can praise it for ages. I mean, we get to see a child shot. This game is peak. But with all seriousness, I really do love the story. It revolves more on Shadow than it does on Sonic. While he and his friends are simply out to stop Eggman as usual, Shadow is a lot more complicated. The guy seeks vengeance on humanity for killing his best friend, Maria, wanting to crash the space colony arc into the planet, wiping out civilization once and for all. Sounds evil, right? Shadow sounds like a class 1 jerk from what I just told you, but throughout the story, we see the true side of the black and red hedgehog.
Sonic Adventure 2 has one of the greatest stories in the entire Sonic series, and it's not even close. The stakes are always high, and it's always motivating the player to keep playing, but it can also be emotional at times. Like when Shadow dies and everyone pays their respects while looking down at the earth. It's just some really sweet stuff. It's also full of iconic moments too, like Sonic jumping off a military helicopter, Tails chasing the President of the United States, and Eggman
I'm gonna go
doing,
higher. I'm pissing on the
this.
moon.
It's wild, wacky, and extremely memorable.
Oh, and the music. My lord. When people say the music is overrated, I do not see this whatsoever. From the moment you boot up the game, you are greeted with an amazing riff of Live and Learn, to the last credits being such a sad and emotional scene, as all the characters reflect on everything they just went through. Apart from Tails, he continues his trend of saying stupid stuff at the end of the game from SA1.
Yeah, the music in this game is absolutely fire, and I've never understood why some people think it's overrated. In SA1, each character has their own separate theme, with each music style reflecting each character's personality, such as Sonic's theme being focused on rock, while Knuckles is just straight up rap. In SA2 though, their stages use the same style as their themes, and I think that's really cool. Sonic's stages are always fast-paced rock, Rouge's stages are accompanied by jazz, and Knuckles' are always his iconic rap, and so on. You can immediately tell which type of stage it is based on the musical style, and I Do you have anything left to talk about?
Let's see. What else is on the script? Oh no.
Chow Garden! I've always wanted to raise a dumpling. Chow Garden is pretty much just a mini pet simulator. You can feed your chow, pick them up, pet them, drug them, throw them, kick them, breed them? So every chow has stats, and you can increase them by feeding them fruit, giving them chaos tribes, or giving them animals. There's also a whole system with character alignment and stuff, but that's way too complicated for my 5 brain cells. Now this seems awesome, right? What's the catch? This is your life now! There are 2 types of chow competitions, racing and karate. You can enter your little dumpling into them to win items for them to play with. Most importantly, emblems. If you want to 100% SA2, you need to complete every Chow race and karate challenge. This can take forever since you need incredibly high stats to beat the later races. Despite all that, it's still a fun feature to mess around with, and I really hope it can return in a future Sonic game.
But how does SA2 hold up today? And how does it compare to its predecessor? Now, I personally have made it abundantly clear that I have always thought that Adventure 2 is better than Adventure 1. But why is that? Well, for one, I think the story and the music clear SA1. Now, again, don't get me wrong, I love the story and music in SA1 too, but Adventure 2 just does it better. But when it comes to gameplay, it's a lot more difficult to decide. Now, I have said in my previous 2 videos that both treasure hunting and the Mecha Stages are better in SA2, but SA1 gives you the option to choose between characters. Now, personally, I would see this as a valid argument, but you're gonna tell me that someone's gonna buy Sonic Adventure and not play Biggs or Amy's stories to get to last story? Because then you'd be lying to me. Not only would you not be getting your money's worth, you would also miss out on Super Sonic. Who wants to miss out on Super Sonic?
Once again, I agree with you, NeedleMouse. Sonic Adventure 2 streamlines and improves upon almost everything SA1 did, and while it's missing some features like the adventure fields, I think it stands above its predecessor as the best adventure game.
In the end, I really do believe SA2 is one of the best Sonic games of all time. The game does have its issues, yes, but what Sonic game doesn't? I think this game, even in 2024, holds up really well, and I 100% recommend to each and every one of you to, if you haven't played, play this game. And if you have played it and thought it was bad, to give it a second shot, because it really is amazing. Almost 25 years, Sonic Adventure 2 still has some of the most fun and engaging gameplay in the franchise. But that's everything for today. I really hope you all enjoyed this 3-part series. And who knows, maybe we'll do another 3-parter, potentially a sequel to my writers collab. But thank you for joining me, Lag. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao!